Dr. Nidhi Khare. Students, in today's lecture, I'll give you an understanding of what is organizational culture. Organizations, to cope with global competition and the changing business environment, envision a futuristic state with a new purpose and goals to be achieved. They try to move to that state using a planned strategy. This strategy could entail redesigning, reorganizing, or innovating current work activities and the organizational structure or processes in order to retain or improve the organization's current competitive position, customer focus, and customer satisfaction. Now, while changes are brought about in work, structure, or process, it is to be noted that all these need to take place in the overall context of the organization's culture. Organizational culture is like the blood flow in the human system that connects and energizes the various internal organs. Changes made in the systems or subsystems may not be effective until they are compatible with the organizational culture. So, students, this is why understanding the organizational culture is very, very important, because otherwise, cultural incongruence or cultural resistance will defeat the purpose of any planned change. When small or incremental changes are made in an organization, they need to be tuned to its overall culture. However, when an organization plans to bring in radical, transformational, or fundamental changes, or plans to recreate it, it becomes imperative for the organization to change its current culture, because without which such deep and significant changes are just not possible. Culture in popular managerial parlance usually refers to how people feel about the organization, how people feel about the authority system, and the degree of employee involvement and commitment. All this is the soft stuff, all of which refers to the culture of the organization. Managers need to learn that where culture may matter most is in its impact on the hard stuff, such as strategy and structure. Most managers are quite blind to the fact that their strategies and structures are dominated by cultural assumptions, and the history of success and failure hardwire these cultural assumptions into their thinking. So, what is organizational culture? People get affected by the culture in which they live. Values, beliefs, and expected behaviors of a family are taught to its members through the process of socialization within the family. And the same is true for organizations. When people join an organization, they have certain values and beliefs that may not be sufficient for achieving organizational goals. Therefore, they are required to adapt to the culture of the organization. Every organization has its own missions and goals, and to attain these, it adopts unique modes and methods of operations. In the process of achieving the corporate mission, participants internalize organizational values and norms to give meaningful expressions to the same in their day to day activities. Thus, all the members of an organization come to adapt shared values, beliefs, norms, attitudes, and ways of doing things and practicing which are unique to the organization. This is termed as the culture of the organization. Organizational culture has been defined by scholars in varied ways. Numerous definitions of organizational culture have been proposed. In today's lecture, I am going to highlight two definitions. The first one is by Edgar H. Skene. He defines organizational culture as a set of basic assumptions, that a given group has invented, discovered, or developed in learning to cope with its problems of external adaptation and internal integration that have worked well enough to be considered valid and therefore to be taught to new members as a correct way to perceive, think, and feel in relation to these problems. Another definition is by Porter et al. He defines organizational culture as a set of customs and typical patterns of ways of doing things. The force, pervasiveness, and nature of such models, beliefs, and values vary considerably from organization to organization. Yet it is assumed that an organization that has any history at all has developed some sort of culture, and that this will have a vital impact on the degree of success of any effort to improve or to alter the organization. So, students, you have seen now that it is difficult to define culture and still harder to specify or delineate it. It is reflected in how things are done and how problems are solved in an organization. It may be defined as the ethos of a company, as US firms do, or the shared values and team spirit, as European firms prefer to define it. In biological terms, culture is like the DNA of an organization. It is invisible to the naked eye, but critical to shaping its behavior. One culture could be distinguished from another in terms of how some commonly shared human problems are addressed and the specific solutions that are sought affecting the performance of everyone within the culture in positive or negative ways. So, students, I hope you have got some understanding of organization culture. In my next lecture, I'm going to tell you about the elements of organizational culture. Thank you.